Keep talking amongst yourself before I hit the record, or before I put the video in.
Keep tasking?
Yeah.
That was
tasking.
That kind of show.
Here's the thing. I'm not even the one that's drinking right now either.
I know that's what's scary. You're the one messing up words, and I can't. Oh, you.
Cheers.
Oh, there's the show sheet. The show sheet showed up. So that means we can start the show.
Okay.
We can start the show. Hey, let me cue up the music or the fancy intro provided by Finero. Deck your balls full, use Manscaped, and here we go. Dynasty Vipers, ViperCast, episode number 32, where we've got the clean-shaven lower extremities of Daryl Hollywood Titan in the house again today. And, of course, our Scrooge in the Drew Brees outfit. He actually probably has the ugliest holiday sweater here we have. Representing the Bayou, Kelvin and Javi.
What is up, fellas?
What's going on?
It's championship week.
It is. And I'm only in 2. I've lost basically all of them. I have 2 left that I'm in. So
I'm with you. I'm only in 2 as well. But I honestly, I always feel like it's the talent is getting to the playoffs. There's a lot of luck involved in who you're playing and things like that once you get into the playoffs. So unless you're going to play in an overall points championship type where you just go points for the whole year, there's so much to it, but that's what makes it fun.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm excited. And, of course, we're joined here by the Hollywood Titan in his Chris Johnson jersey in the background there. What's up, Hollywood?
What's going on, Calvin? Getting ready.
Matt, I think we should just start with a check-in. Last time a lot of these guys saw you, you were getting waxed. It seemed like your wife was enjoying it maybe a little bit too much.
Oh my God.
How has that gone? How has it? Smooth. Show them how smooth you are now, Matt. Both said you're smooth.
Man.
If I start showing, I don't know where I'm going to stop either. Bo, I have to show you. I got to send you some DMs. There's some bruising that's starting to take place here. I don't know if that's normal, but Bo
would know.
Bo would know. He let me in on a little bit of secret there about the whole thing. Apparently, it's a little bit more disappointing. He's not really a gigolo in a past lifetime, but there is a story there. So I'm going to stick with my story because being a gigolo or a male dancer sounds much, much better. So,
Right.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely. We're here. We're going to talk about Week 16, and we're joined by Hollywood Titan. Look, we don't discriminate. We want to talk about some IDP as well, and we've got a lot of things to talk about. But first, before we get into any of the matchups, I do want to just say, thank you to everyone who donated and gave to the event that we had, both with Matt and with Chase over there, FF Intervention, raised money for No Kid Hungry. What did the total end up being, Matt?
we hit just over $1,400 raised.
Awesome. That's amazing.
When it was all said and done. So went out fantastic. It was kind of a pleasure to kind of give that money. When you hit send right to No Kid Hungry, and then immediately they follow up with an email. Thank you very much for your donation. And then they kind of came on Twitter a couple times after the fact. Thankful again for everything. And really, as much as pain as was associated with the whole event, I think it was for a fantastic cause. I'm not going to say I'm willing to do it again. Because I think there's some other ways to go about. Maybe start a charity league might be a little bit better. Might not hurt as much, but it was definitely a good idea.
Well, another thing that you can do is bring some awareness to not only what you're doing, but what others are doing as well. And I know obviously that is something that you're doing, and that's coming up soon. It's going to be here before you know it. Matt, what can you tell us about any updates on your December 29th event?
Okay, so before I get to the December 29th, I want to kind of pump out there the Dynasty Vipers Playoff League, which we're going to hit up. Right now, we're at 30 entries already. We're only in week 16. We haven't even snipped the playoffs yet, but we've got 30 entries already going into this with a $30 entry fee, with $5 of every entry fee guaranteed to go to charity as well, because that's just how we roll here at the Dynasty Vipers. Second, being inspired this holiday season and the charity season and everything the fantasy football community has been doing, we've decided, myself and Lewis there at FF_Down Under, to put a little hosting of a little event together to recognize those charities in our fantasy football community. Ranging globally, actually. Here, we're going to be fully international. We're going to have the guys from the Warrior Bowl, Kickers Matter, the EFFC, Peter Gent. He's going to join us there as well. John Bosch, Salito, Potathon, and the Scott Fishbowl, the Eliminators. You name it, we got it. We're going to cram 30 people into a 3-hour show. Originally, we were only going 2 hours, but that did not seem like enough. As you know, Hollywood and myself, we both do a little bit of writing somewhat with the IDP guys. We also partook in the IDP Invitational, which was for Autism Speaks, which is a very close to heart kind of thing for Hollywood's co-hosts there, and Dan. So Dan and Nate are going to join us on the show as well and talk about them. This show is not just about the charity, but what got you into the charity, what's your connection to the charity. And the thing is, when you do these charity leagues, you make so many interactions with members of the fantasy community. One of the biggest things, like going into the Scott Fishbowl, you're donating. RotoWare, I don't know the exact number, don't fact check me, but I think through t-shirt sales, it was an insane amount, like $40,000. I don't know what it actually is. It was an incredible number just on the t-shirt sales. But you get into these charity leagues, these Scott Fish Bowls, these Warrior Bowls, you got these independent chat rooms, these little leagues and side leagues, and then you make those interactions with that 12 people that you're drafting with, and that's where it's all fantastic there, and you bounce these ideas off. This is the kind of stuff we need to talk about as a community, and that's what we're going to do on December 29th, 8 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to roll this thing out for 3 hours. So, you know what? Our boys there from the European delegation, they're going to be up at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning with us. So let's talk about this stuff. There's a lot of things going on in Europe right now that us in North America are not aware of, the fundraising that went on there. And then there's a lot of things in our own backyard we don't know about. So let's get that information out there to the people. Let's make this a good holiday season for everyone, even Raiders fans and Jags fans and teams that don't have a whole lot to cheer for right now.
Whoa. I can't with the Jags stuff. I can't.
Okay.
It's a moral dilemma for me. I can't do anything Succinfield.
Well, it sounds like the Titans may be the most generous team of all, because they may just hand the division over to the Indianapolis Colts before it's all said and done.
Yeah, sure we will.
Well, that's really cool. And again, I'm really excited about what you're doing. I think you are a perfect person to do it. I know a lot of the stuff really is close to your heart. And this is not just lip service for you. This is not something you're doing to try and get attention. This is legitimately something that I know that you care about. Yep. And I hope you guys seriously take the time to make sure you tune in and just even getting aware of all the things that is going on, like you said, around the world, just understanding what these people that you're interacting with on Twitter and you see them, on there every day. It's cool to get a little glimpse into what they're doing to help their communities and just help the world overall. So yeah, love that. Hollywood, excited to have you here with us. And Merry Christmas to everybody. I mean, this is a festive Hollywood Titan, and happy holidays to everyone out there.
Thanks for having me and just letting me tag along. So,
yeah. Well, let's jump into week 16. Let's start helping some people. If you're in here and you got some questions, you want a second or third opinion, fourth opinion, hit us up. Get in the chat room. If you want to just make fun of us, you can do that too. That's okay. Especially if you want to make fun of Dingus. That is encouraged.
I'm looking over.
Absolutely.
I can't with the comments. I can't over here. I can't. That's it. I can't with you.
I know what you can use to shave anything for charity, Dingus.
Yes, you can head over to manscaped.com, purchase the Lawnmower 3.0, and make sure your package is nice and tight for the holiday season before you deliver it. Use promo code ViperCast20 and receive 20% off and free shipping. That promo code again is ViperCast20 to receive 20% off and free shipping.
Does that come with a little bow on it?
If you want me to put it on a bow, I'll put a bow on it for you.
Careful.
So if you don't know who Amber D is, that's my sister, just so you know. So we're talking
nice.
we're talking about cleaning my package in front of my sister. So that's fantastic. That's kind of the standards we set for this show.
Oh, bless her heart. Bless her heart.
And my mom is probably my mom could be potentially secretly watching this as well.
Hi, Mom.
All right, so we got to be on our best behavior here, Hollywood.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Well, we start things off obviously. So I'm here in my Drew Brees jersey, despite the way that he ultimately let Saints Nation down, and I am going to have an opportunity to. Couldn't find the one chip for the one chip challenge, but I did find something. It's a chocolate bar that's supposed to be really hot. That actually, when you purchase it, it actually goes and some of the money goes to feeding the hungry. So I thought that fit in with our theme. So that's I'm going to be doing that. It's supposed to arrive on Saturday, so hopefully I'll have that for our Starts and Sits show on Saturday.
Our what show? Our what show? Did you say Starts and Shits?
That's what I heard.
Starts and Sits. So let's talk about the Saints, because Christmas Day is coming. We got the holidays right here. Christmas Day, the Saints are taking on the Vikings right here in the Dome. This is where the Vikings have broken our hearts. We have now twice in a row lost to the Vikings when we faced them in the playoffs in heartbreaking fashion. Last play of the game. And we're inviting them in, and hopefully the Saints are ready for this game. I think we're starting Dalvin Cook. We're starting Justin Jefferson. Adam Thielen, last time they got a chance to play the Saints here in the playoffs, he actually torched them pretty good. Be curious to see how they adjust to that. And then I don't know that I'm trusting a lot of Saints in this matchup outside of Alvin Kamara. Is there anybody on this Saints team on that side of the ball? Hollywood, I'll start with you. Are you trusting any of our Saints this week on Christmas Day?
Well, I like Kamara a lot better now that Breeze is back.
Mm-hmm.
He was that was rough to watch with Taysom Hill at the helm for Kamara owners. So I like him a lot better with Breeze back. I think Cook's got to be a good option now that Breeze is back too at tight end. So yeah, I like those two. I like Breeze. I think he was going to have a little rest in that first game. It was to be expected. So I think he'll be much better this week.
Yep.
I agree. I think Breeze will be fine this week. I think he's going to get back into it. You got to remember, he's had a few weeks off to kind of sit back there. It's all about timing. I don't care how good of a professional you are. It's about getting your timing back. That said, I don't think you can put the entire blame on Drew Brees being rusty going into that game either. The Saints were lucky to keep that a game throughout, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They couldn't beat them like the Raiders did, but, they tried hard, right? They tried hard. That said, I think you've got to fire up everyone here. I think you've got to fire up your obviously Drew Brees, unless you got a better option like a Jalen Hurts or Justin Herbert or something like that you got off waivers. If you got one of them, then you're definitely going. If you've made it this far with Drew Brees as your quarterback, there's a good chance you have a solid option already on your bench. That said, Gladney, Cameron Dantzler, these are not exactly corners that instill fear into opposition. So if you're desperate in deep leagues with flex, maybe you get opportunity to fire up a Traquan Smith again this week. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that, but it could be one of those. I think Breeze is going to be okay. Jared Cook is back with Breeze. I think you can fire him up. Obviously, Kamara. Latavius Murray, if you need a deep sleeper there, he can get back into it. I don't think he's going anywhere. They want to pound the rock a little bit. And on the flip side, you have to. I know the Saints defense is good, but you still got to roll Jefferson. You still got to roll Thielen. You still got to roll Dalvin Cook. Kirk Cousins, I'd probably pump the brakes on.
Drew Brees or Kirk Cousins in this matchup. What do you guys think?
Breeze.
I would take Breeze too.
Yeah.
Breeze or
here's the thing. I've fallen for this trap before, and I've paid for it. How many people are watching this game? Would you consider this a primetime game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it would.
Hey,
Yeah.
It's the only game going at this time.
Yeah.
The entire world is watching Friday. Is it Friday they're playing?
They're playing Friday, yeah.
Christmas Day. Friday. Yeah, Christmas Day.
The entire world is watching Friday night football. Guess what? Kirk Cousins, primetime, no bueno.
No bueno?
Agreed.
No bueno.
No bueno.
Real quick, Drew Brees or let's say Mitch Trubisky?
Brees.
Trubisky against Jacksonville.
I'm taking
Brees.
Trubisky.
I'm taking Brees.
All right, moving on. Let's jump over to Saturday. We got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday football coming up. 4 straight days of football. Excited to see that. The first game that we have on Saturday, we've got Tampa Bay versus Detroit. I think I'm starting everybody against the Lions. I think whether you're talking about Tom Brady, you're talking about Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, I think probably even Gronkowski to a degree. I'm looking at him. Maybe Antonio Brown. I really like what, they're when you're facing the Lions, you're pretty much starting everybody. And then on the Lions side, I know that Tampa Bay defense is known for its run defense. Matt, I'll start with you. Are we trusting DeAndre Swift in the championship?
For my boy Swags, I'm going to say yes. Because Swags has ridden DeAndre Swift all the way to the Scott Fish Bowl X Finals. And he was the earliest guy to take DeAndre Swift. So I'm going to say, yes, you can trust Swift, but it won't be in the run game. It'll be in the passing game.
Ooh.
I like that. What else do you expect to see here? Tampa Bay hanging on, really needing this win in Detroit.
Well, they should have a favorable matchup here because we know Matt Stafford is tough as nails, and he's one of the most disrespected quarterbacks in this league. And he is definitely going to be out there. I think he's going to be out there giving it his all to sling it. I don't think he's been downgraded out or anything yet. He played with basically ribs missing, and I think he had half a leg, and he was pretty banged up in the last match. All he did was throw for a couple touchdowns at 352 yards before giving way to Chase Daniel in a blowout. But he was out there with his teammates and giving it all he got. You can expect that more from Matt Stafford. I think he's going to be able to throw the ball a little bit. Marvin Jones, I think you can get him and maybe DeAndre Swift. TJ Hawkinson, who's apparently a Pro Bowler over guys such as Robert Tonyan, which is another story altogether. But TJ Hawkinson's maybe a guy you could think about starting. I don't know. Devin White, Levante David are excellent coverage linebackers, so that would kind of scare me off of Hawkinson.
Agreed. Hollywood, take this any way you want. Offensive side, defensive side.
Yeah,
in this matchup.
Yeah, I think Tampa Bay wins this pretty easily. I would expect them to be firing on all cylinders, especially in the pass game. I got some others, but are y'all trusting Leonard Fournette this week? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
I'm not trusting Fournette because he went off last week, and this seems like a trap to me.
Yeah.
That's what I was actually going to try to toss around. So let's go ahead and do that now. Leonard Fournette or Kenyon Drake?
Drake.
Yeah.
This is like you choosing which of your cousins to kiss on prom night.
Both of them.
That's a great answer.
If I had to choose between Fournette and Drake, I'd probably lean Drake.
Yeah, I'm like Dingus. I don't really like either one of them, but if you're forcing me to pick, I think I'm taking Drake.
I mean, the matchup is good, right? I mean, the Lions have not been a very good defense. So, I mean, the part of you, like, you're right. It could be a little bit of a trap where you sort of talk yourself into him. But let me ask you this. Another guy who really hasn't started this year, but we've trusted in the past, Fournette or Le'Veon Bell against Atlanta.
Oh. Well, I think a lot of people went out there and they if you are in those smart leagues that does not have a trade deadline, I think Le'Veon Bell is definitely a hot name on that market. You probably got a king's ransom to move him with the injury to Edwards-Helaire. You know what? I would trust Bell. I wouldn't trust him as RB1 numbers, but if you're looking for an RB2, a guy who's going to finish in that 13 to 24 range, I think Bell's definitely got you covered.
Yeah, I think I'm with Dingus on that. I think it's close. I mean, you're not going to put him in there as your one. You can't rely on him to be your one, but Bell, I think, is RB2 flex. I like that a lot.
I think I like Fournette out of those two, because I kind of like Darrell Williams this week. I kind of think he could be a sneaky play with the Chiefs. Without Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think he could end up. This isn't Le'Veon Bell that we've seen in the past. He has not looked like that. He hasn't looked quite as good. And Darrell Williams, to me, like the times that I've seen him, I think he looks pretty serviceable. So, so I kind of like him. One more, a guy that to fill in: Leonard Fournette or Jeff Wilson.
Mostert looks like he's out, so give me Wilson easily.
Yeah.
Very good. So speaking of Mostert, let's go into that matchup. We've got the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Arizona Cardinals. And I think this is a game where San Francisco is going to want to play spoiler to the Cardinals. They're not going to just lay over. They got some exciting players on that team, but we've got C.J. Beathard and maybe George Kittle. Matt, I know you've got Jeff's notes in front of you. Are we going to see George Kittle this week? What does Jeff think?
Well, I'll let you turn this over to Daryl while I go look for those notes. I don't have them right in front of me, but
what do you think, San Francisco Cardinals?
I think Arizona wins this. I just don't know what Beathard's going to do, if he's going to do a whole lot of anything. They're going to want to run the ball, of course. I think you're going to see a lot of the same stuff you saw from them last week. I just don't know that will be good enough to beat Arizona and that offense that they've got going on. I think you're playing Drake. I think that's a pretty good pick, depending on how you look at it. You're playing, of course, Hopkins and Murray and those guys. Chase Edmonds, are we playing him?
I think he's another one with maybe a questionable tag.
Okay.
Injury-wise.
I'm going to make a bold prediction, say Brandon Ayuk is the wide receiver one in this matchup.
I do like him. I don't know about that, but I do like him.
I think C.J. Beathard comes into this one like, I don't give a shit about anything, and he's going to sling that ball around the field, and it's going to be Brandon Ayuk this, Brandon Ayuk that. We see Patrick Peterson the last couple of weeks kind of get abused by wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
I think Brandon Ayuk is another man, a different breed altogether. And if you've got Ayuk, you're firing him up. I know I got him in a couple of my toilet bowl finals and consolation finals, and I'm definitely putting him in there because Ayuk, I think, is going to be the top wide receiver. I think he finishes in the wide receiver one conversation for Week 16.
Right.
So go ahead, Hollywood.
Sorry, just a quick note back on the Detroit game. If you're looking at IDP, I think if you're in defensive tackle leagues, position specific premium, you got to start Ndamukong Suh this week because he's going to be fired up to go back to Detroit. And he's actually had a pretty solid season this entire year. So I meant to mention that a minute ago and forgot it. But, yeah, I think that's a definite good play there.
Revenge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice revenge game there. And, yeah, I'd be really curious to see. Check out, if nothing else, check out Jeff's Twitter feed because I'm sure he'll have updates of George Kittle and what he's expecting. And I don't know that we're expecting the capital letters George Kittle that we're used to seeing, but I hope we are. Football's more fun when we get George Kittle out on the field. No doubt about that. It's more fun when Kyler Murray's playing the way he is right now, too. That's a guy you can't get him out of your lineup if you've got him. That's for sure. Let me ask you this. You mentioned the toilet bowl, the consolation. Do you have any of those leagues? Are you interested at all at scooping up Josh Rosen now that he's been claimed off the Buccaneers practice squad as a potential Kyle Shanahan quarterback for the future?
Not me. I don't want nothing to do with him.
What do you think, Matt?
I mean, if you're in deeper leagues, you've got the roster space to do it. Then I don't see why not. You can super flex leagues right now where you got a roster. This is the year you take a dart throw at some guys that are coming off injury, some guys that could be making themselves potentially starters or putting them in a situation to start come 2021. Now, is Rosen going to start for San Francisco? No.
Nah.
Is he going to put himself where he could be the number 2 quarterback behind a starter? Possibly.
Yeah, he's got pedigree. It's got pedigree. It's going to be interesting to see. And I want to move on to the next game where we got another quarterback who has got pedigree, but looks like he's not going to get a chance to play. Derek Carr watched Marcus Mariota come in, trying to Wally Pip him, take his job, and he said, oh, you know what? Maybe I'm not as hurt as I think I am. And all of a sudden, he's back at practice today.
It's a Christmas miracle. He's healthy.
Looks like he could play. I don't know. I don't know if I trust it. Matt, do you think Derek Carr is he's rushing out there to keep Mariota down?
Here's what happened.
Enlighten us.
Derek Carr had neglected his balls for a couple of weeks. He went on a run, he scrambled, and he popped his groin because he was carrying a little bit too much hair down there.
Oh, my God.
So when he got back home, he got on the computer and he went www.manscaped.com, used promo code ViperCast20 and picked himself up the Lawnmower 3.0. And like 10 minutes later, he was able to get back to practice because he was feeling that much better about himself and his groin thanked him. That said, there's probably a little bit of
you don't know. Maybe he popped a couple Blue Chews. You don't know.
It's a possibility. But we're talking about professional athletes here who are the alpha males of their sport. They do not want to give up anything, especially a starter position. I remember when I played, and this was only in high school, you could lose your starting position. There was no guarantee of you holding on to your starter spot because of injury. So you went out there regardless of how you were feeling, and you continued to play, or else you would lose your spot. And I think Derek Carr has that kind of that old dog mentality in him, thinking, you know what, I could get Wally pipped here if I don't get out there and get my chance. I could get the old Tom Brady to Drew Bledsoe kind of treatment here. So he's a competitive player. He wants to get out there. He's got something to prove. He's probably having one of his best seasons he's ever had, and yet people still continually dump on him. Yeah, okay, he doesn't want to hit the deep ball, but he doesn't really have a deep ball guy now with the Ruggs being injured half the time. They don't have the weapons that you would think. You can talk about Nelson Aguilar all you want, but he's not a premier wide receiver. Ask Shane about Nelson Aguilar Philly days, and he'll tell you all you need to know about him. That said, I actually kind of like the Raiders in this matchup, and it's not just my homerism here. It's the fact that there's not much going on with Miami. Tua's there. Tua's playing fantastic. Lynn Bowden revenge game is on the docket here. Let's not forget about that. But it sounds like Myles Gaskins, came off the IR. He should be ready to roll. Salman Ahmed, he's out there again. These are just another guy. They're Jags. Let's call it the way it is. They're not studs by any stretch of anyone's imagination. Somehow Josh Jacobs became a Pro Bowler over James Robinson. Well, that's another topic conversation for later. I don't agree with that, and I'm a Raiders fan, so let's get it there right away. These are guys. I think the Raiders have something to prove. They're trying to play spoiler now. They still have an outside shot, but it's very unrealistic of getting into the playoffs at this point. So they're going out there. They're trying to spoil some things here. Miami is beat up offensively. They have a fantastic defense. It's going to be a fun matchup, and that's where it's going to come in. Derek Carr or Mariota. Who gives you that better opportunity to win? Considering the weapons right now, it may be Mariota who gives him the best chance because of what he can do with his legs.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big factor last week. Him running like that was a big factor last week.
But at the end of the day, Hollywood, you are a resident Titans enthusiast. Mariota is who Mariota is.
Yeah, I think if you're trying to change him,
Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, I mean, you try to change him or make him something he's not. It's just not going to work out. But what you saw last week from him is exactly who he is.
Right.
If you can keep him healthy and let him play like he did last week, you can win with him. I mean, he can win. I mean, he won a lot of games in Tennessee. It just didn't quite work out for him. And I think one thing down the stretch is he had changed so many coordinators and systems and was so gun shy. I mean, you know, it was almost to the point he was playing so conservative and so safe to not make the mistake that that was the mistake. It turned around and bit him in the ass, so to speak. So, actually, I was tickled to death last week to see him play like that, because when he's playing like that, that's when he's at his best, and it's hard to defend when he's like that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the idea of Mariota being the guy there. I think maybe for fantasy that there could be in the passing game, some of the receivers may take a little bit of a hit, but I wonder if overall the Raiders would be better giving Mariota a go. So you mentioned Manscaped, you mentioned Derek Carr and all that. I have a real life Manscaped story that I want to share as we say. So anybody listening now, you can get for 20% off with Manscaped. You can get one of these packages. I'm telling you, this is really good stuff. And it's not just us crazy people promoting this, right? So my wife was at an event, a socially distanced event with someone, and they were sharing with her that their son, who just turned 18, has asked for Christmas one of the Manscaped packages. That is what he wanted from them for Christmas. Had no idea anything about us promoting it or what we were talking about. That was totally an organic thing. And my wife was like, well, I know how to get you 20% off of that. And hey, look, I'm just going to say the fact that she was promoting it means that it was pretty good, right?
There you go. Hey, proof is in the pudding. It's a crowd pleaser. I'm just saying.
Crowd pleaser. So there you go. That's my Manscaped personal story there. That really happened this past week. So
awesome.
Once we get past that, so we'll have football Friday, football Saturday, and then we got the main event here on Sunday. We got the early game starting with Atlanta versus Kansas City. This is a really interesting game to me. We could have Julio out. There's a lot of interesting moving parts. But I'll tell you who wants this game maybe more than anybody is, I think, Raheem Morris wants this game on his resume. I think this is one of those where he wants his team to get up in a way that they haven't gotten up before. He's proven to be able to motivate them pretty well, I think. Now, I don't know that necessarily means that he's going to be able to go into Kansas City and get a win. We've seen some crazy things happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think Raheem Morris is going to want this game. I'm not sure that it's enough. And I still think Kansas City walks away with a win. But this is the one time I wouldn't mind rooting for Atlanta. Hollywood, looking at this matchup, who do you got your eyes on? Who are we trusting in our fantasy championships?
Man, I don't know that you can trust Julio right now with him being out so much here lately. And I think if you have better options, you're probably looking at him maybe.
So just to touch base here, Julio Jones was not at practice on Wednesday. Raheem Morris did say he is a bit closer to returning, but wouldn't commit to him playing this weekend. So, in other words, no, I'm not trusting him at all.
Yeah. I think you go with Calvin Ridley, Austin Hooper. Is that Austin Hooper down there?
Nope.
No, Hayden Hurst. Sorry, I get them mixed up all the time. Hayden Hurst, I like him. I don't know if you're trusting Gurley. I've just been scared of Gurley all year. I know he's had some good games, but I think it really depends on who you got on your roster. Matt Ryan, I think, yeah, I like him because I think probably what you drafted him to be and probably what you have on your team, you're kind of maybe probably having to start him. I don't know who your other guys are, but it's defense. You're starting Keanu Neal. It looks like he's finally coming back after those injuries. Deion Jones, you're starting him. Julio scares me though.
Yeah.
And I like the Deion Jones thing. Deion Jones has always been one of my top linebackers. I always get made fun of for having him as linebacker one. I know Joey's always got my back there, Joey the Tooth. He's high on Deion Jones as much as I am. He's quietly, I think, linebacker 5 right now for IDPers. Wow. Linebacker 5. Yeah. We're not talking about him because we like Derek Carr, we like to dump on him a little bit as a linebacker that we thought we'd get a little bit more out of that we never really did. But when he's quietly producing, we don't want to talk about it. So agreed there. I know we talked about Le'Veon Bell maybe being the go-to guy here for Kansas City. I do like the Darrell Williams if you're looking for that sneaky pick because this could be a game that gets out of hand early and we go to the running game and we go to Darrell Williams because we're saving Le'Veon Bell for the playoffs. So that kind of has that kind of feel to it when it's all said and done. Obviously, you're starting Calvin Ridley. You're thinking about Hayden Hurst. I would be willing to throw Russell Gage in there as a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. Let's not forget about Russell Gage because we love him on this show. Yeah. And then on the flip side, Tyreek, you're firing up. Sammy Watkins, maybe because it's Atlanta. You might want to get him in line. I won't because
I wouldn't either.
Never Sammy.
Some people may feel comfortable with him. I always recommend never playing him unless you're in week 1. Outside of that, Kelsey, an obvious one. Mahomes is obvious. Matt Ryan, I would even consider playing here as a QB2 if you're in super flex leagues, so you can do a little bit worse than that. So this has some chance to be a higher scoring game because the way this game is going to dictate itself, Kansas City is going to get up early, and Atlanta is going to be throwing to play catch-up the rest of the way. Todd Gurley is going to be restricted to the RB2 in this matchup, as Ito Smith has been given the lead back dog role for Atlanta.
And here's one that me and Coach likes on the IDP side, especially if you need to start corner specifically. L'Jarius Sneed started off the season red hot, kind of got injured, disappeared, and people forgot about him, and he come back last week and was right back where he was at. So, I could see Kansas City, with that offense, especially with Tyreek Hill and them, I think they jump on them early. I think they jump on them quick and probably have a big lead, which means they're going to be throwing a lot, which would be really good for Sneed. So,
plus, we love ourselves from Louisiana Tech here.
We do. We do.
A little Sneed, a little Amick Robertson with the Raiders, We love these small school kids. Definitely down in the bayou.
Love that. I want to get an idea of where you guys. So let's say Julio's out and Russell Gage is playing more. Do you like Russell Gage or Tyler Lockett in a tough matchup here against the Rams?
Oh,
Lockett has not been very good.
This is going to be an interesting one because I think Lockett is the go-to because I think Jalen Ramsey is going to see a lot of DK Metcalf.
Yep.
And Jalen held his own against DK Metcalf. This is a Lockett week right now, in my opinion, for Seattle. And I would take Lockett over Metcalf, but I would take Gage over Metcalf this week.
Ooh.
How's that for spice?
There you go.
Man, it's hard to root against Metcalf, though.
It is. So Jalen Ramsey did to him. Jalen Ramsey matching up on Metcalf just a couple weeks ago. We had this matchup. We saw it. It was fantastic. I think Metcalf did catch a touchdown when it was all said and done, but he had to fight like a dog to get it. And this is going to be a fantastic battle.
You know what? Speaking of Manscaped, though, to take Gage, if you have Gage and Metcalf and you're taking Gage over Metcalf,
oh, yeah,
that's some big balls right there. In the championship week, those things have got to clang when you walk to do that move. That's a big move right there.
These are the kind that you hang off your hitch.
Your trailer hitch. Yeah, I got you.
I love that. So that tells me, that tells me about where you are on Russell Gage. So that's good. Let's jump in. There's some interesting wide receivers for us to talk about in this next matchup. By interesting, I mean not really at all. Cleveland versus the Jets. We've got Landry. We've got Jamison Crowder. Not sure there's a lot of other wide receivers we're excited about. Maybe Higgins against the Jets. Here's what I know. The Browns are not going to take the Jets as a joke the way the Rams did. I think the Browns, they smell the division. They're seeing what's happening with the Steelers, and I think you are going to see a motivated, great game from them. I think you're going to let Baker bake, and he's going to throw the ball well here against the Jets. A lot of Chubb, a lot of Hunt. Even Austin Hooper, I think, could have a good game if he's healthy and in there. Not a lot of things on the Jet side other than I just want to add Frank Gore. You need him on your team if he's on waiver wire just for good karma in the championship. That's the kind of team chemistry you need on your bench. Make sure you have him. So, Matt, I want to toss over to you. What do you think about this matchup?
Normally, I'd be all for. I think you could possibly start Crowder here. Denzel Mims maybe on outside shot. Rashad Perryman if things get dirty on the wide receiver thing.
Right.
Offensively speaking for the Browns, they are playing some lights out football right now. Kareem Hunt is a start. Nick Chubb is always going to be a start. You're going to fire up Jarvis Landry. Austin Hooper is definitely a guy who's been playing a lot better lately. We've been hearing his name more often in the last 2 weeks than we've had in the previous, 14 weeks. So Austin Hooper is a guy I feel comfortable with starting if I don't have a better option. Let's face it, unless you've got one of the top 5 tight ends, Kelsey or Waller, Hawkinson maybe, Mark Andrews, Robert Tonyan. Then maybe you're looking at a Hooper here because I don't think there's no – Logan Thomas. We'll talk about him because I love myself some Logan Thomas this late in the season. But really, there's only about 5 or 6 tight ends I feel comfortable with. After that, it's really a crapshoot looking at the matchups. And this is a good matchup because it's the Jets, and they can't stop anybody not named the Rams.
Right. Yeah, I agree with all that. I think you're going to see a lot of Myles Garrett, a lot of Olivier Vernon. Yeah, and I'm with both of you, especially Calvi, on this. The Browns, they know what's ahead of them. They win this week. They've got a showdown next week with Pittsburgh. So they are going to be motivated, eye on the prize. You're just – and I just – even still, I don't think the Jets pull this off 2 weeks in a row. And they're without Quinn Williams now, who's on IR. So if you have him and you're dependent on him, they've shut him down for the season. Damn it, Tingus.
I could flash you another way if you want.
No, I'm good. Trust me, I've seen enough of that the last 2 days. I'm good. So if you got Quinn Williams, you're going to want to get him out of your lineup. I just think this is a runaway game for Browns. They've kind of a muscle flexing game. I just think with all the hype and all the history that they've had lately of not being good, a chance to go in or play Pittsburgh for the division and be in the playoffs and all that, the Christmas time, you can't ask for a better scenario right now. So they're not going to let the Jets come in there and ruin that for them.
Real quick, George Kittle if he plays or Austin Hooper?
Kittle. If he plays, I'm playing Kittle. Not having Kittle cost me at least 4 championships. The other night, Dingus, if I'd have had Kittle, I'd have won.
If you would have had anyone get you one more tackle, you would have won.
Oh, my God, I hate you.
Jeez.
Kittle, if he's well enough to play, you got to play Kittle because 75% Kittle is better than just about everybody in the league at the position. I mean,
yeah, we just talked about it.
Yeah.
We talked about the position disparity there and how you can only trust so many guys. If Kittle's playing and we don't hear about a snap count, then I'm absolutely putting him in.
I don't know that I care about a snap count. He's one of those players that it only takes 1 or 2 plays from him. Just like Tyreek Hill. It only takes 1 or 2 plays from him.
One more hard one. Baker Mayfield in this matchup or Russell Wilson against the Rams?
Baker.
Yeah, I go Baker too. Yeah. Bad as I hate to say that, yeah.
I'm actually starting Ryan Tannehill over Russell Wilson.
How about this one? Baker or Jalen Hurts?
Baker.
Jalen.
I like Jalen. I like Jalen.
I like Jalen too, but I just think you go Baker here. I think they get up early, really quick.
That's my worry. That's my worry right there. Is they get up early.
Yeah.
And how they get up early.
I think you could see a lot of I think he'll get 2 or 3 touchdown passes. And may not be to the receivers or tight ends. Maybe it's a dump offs to Chubb and Hunt, but I think he gets at least 2 or 3 good touchdowns. So
I like that. Let's move on. We got the Indianapolis Colts and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, normally you see the Pittsburgh Steelers and you think, hey, I got to lower my expectations for who I have going against them. But look, nobody can sustain losing some of their best players and ultimately just continuing on the way they were. And they lost Devin Bush. They lost who else did they lose for the year? I know Spillane, but I know he was filling in for who?
Bud Dupree's out.
Bud Dupree, yeah, he's out. So those are big losses. Those are tough, big shoes to fill.
Well,
and
you throw out Bud Dupree, you throw out the name Devin Bush, and that takes a huge shot. Robert Spielen there, he's out too. They were down to Avery Williamson running that defense against a team that's not afraid to run it down your throat with a big old Quentin Nelson there at guard with a running back just as big as any linebacker you have, possibly running the ball too. This is a team in Indianapolis that loves to get down and get dirty. And they got something to play for too here right now too. Yeah. They're right there on a division title run themselves with the aforementioned Titans. So
might be the best game of the week right here because Pittsburgh and Indy they have to keep their foot on the gas here, both of them.
I don't think it's going to be a good game though. I think Justin Houston and Darius Leonard are going to kill poor Ben Roethlisberger this one. This is going to be. I think this is going to be almost rock bottom. I think next week when the Steelers lose their 4th in a row, when the Steelers lose their 5th in a row, that's going to be their rock bottom. Once the Browns take the title from them, that's going to be their rock bottom on the season. Because I don't see the Pittsburgh team we've watched the last 3 weeks, how they keep up with Indianapolis this week.
They looked horrible the other night, didn't they? Oh, my gosh.
You lost to Cincinnati, and you didn't even do it looking good. You lost to them the same way the Rams lost to the – actually, the Rams had more of a fight to them than what the Steelers had.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't look good at all. And that's, you look at this matchup and you might not have been trusting Jonathan Taylor like just a few weeks ago. Maybe you would have been worried about that, but I think you're definitely rolling him out in this matchup. I even think Nyheim Hines, who I've talked about a lot this year, he's faded back a little bit, but who's covering him out of the backfield? Is it Williamson? And there's no way he's keeping up with Nyheim Hines.
I don't think it's Williamson. I don't know who it would be.
Who else would it be?
That's a good question. I don't know.
He's going to be a mismatch for them. And, I
know I'm firing up Rivers as a solid QB2 this week, and I'm not even afraid of it right now. It would have been, like you said, a couple weeks ago, before the losing streak started coming into place, before Juju started dancing on team logos. Cool. I guarantee he won't do it this week.
He's already said that he wouldn't do that no more.
Well, it is. I think the game is in Pittsburgh, I believe, so he'd be dumb to do it.
Maybe he needs to fire that team up.
I just think it's going to be a good game because both teams know what's at stake here if they lose.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, if Indianapolis beats Pittsburgh and it makes it 4 in a row, Cleveland is going to be like sharks smelling blood in the water come week 17. They are going to be so freaking pumped up that it won't be crazy. It will be just, ooh.
And look, and the Colts need this game. I mean, they're a log jam right there where they really have to have this game, or else they could be on the outside looking in, because a lot of the tiebreakers don't fall in their favor right now.
Right.
Well, this is our Doctor Strange game of the week, because Doctor Strange is sitting there and he's seen all the different possibilities. There's only one way Pittsburgh wins. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't know what it is personally, but there's only one way Pittsburgh wins this game. Yeah, how are they going to win it? Normally you'd say, let's run the ball, except they can't run the ball, and DeForest Buckner's in Indianapolis as well. You can't run to begin with. So you have no run game, and even if you did, it would be very difficult to run on this Colts defense. So now you're stuck going one-dimensional again, like you always are. And Ben Roethlisberger, his problem is He's not going through his progressions. It's like if you watch the film, it's like he's got a predetermination of who he wants to throw the ball to. If you watch this, watch the games from last week. He's throwing to that first read option that he's got in his head, and usually it's Juju. And then you've got Claypool kind of running a dig or something behind him, wide open, but he's still trying to get that ball into that first read. I don't know if it's the Carson Wentz syndrome where you're scared shitless, where you're getting hit all the time, maybe not sacked, but getting hit enough to where you just want to get that ball out of your hands. I think that's what we're seeing with Roethlisberger right now. I don't think he's injured, but I think he's got that deer in the headlights Carson Wentz kind of feel to him right now. But watch the film. He's not going through his progressions. And you got receivers like Juju, who has never been a true number one. I'm sorry. I've said it for the last 2 years. When AB left, that was going to kill Juju's value because Juju is not a number one. Right. Deontay Johnson has surpassed Juju on that pecking order, and he is the top option there in Pittsburgh. So now what we have a problem is he's hooked onto Juju. Ben likes Juju. Anytime you see Juju on the sideline, he's right up Ben's ass. Right. And that's costing them because you got Chase Claypool who's going to find a matchup somewhere, a mismatch somewhere. You got Deontay Johnson who can run slants just as good as Mike Thomas and get open and make those plays. It's true. He's a good inside route runner. Johnson. Their biggest play was Deontay Johnson's touchdown. I think it was a 28-yard touchdown pass. They're not going to use Johnson as much as they need to because he's not the first read in Ben's progression. And I know I'm right on this because I've watched the film.
And I think here's your one. I think Claypool's their best receiver, period. I know he's young, makes some mistakes and stuff, but I think he's their best receiver.
Yeah, different kind of receiver, but he's their most explosive. But right now it doesn't seem like Ben can take advantage of that and take the top off of defenses, and that's really hurting them and the rest of their offense to me.
Juju is a dangerous number 2 option.
Yeah. So speaking of dangerous number 2 options, we've got a game where we don't have a lot of number 2 options because the Chicago Bears are taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And if you've got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. You've heard that saying. Well, Jacksonville is like splitting reps between Gardner and whatever. And they don't seem like they are. They seem like they have their mindset locked on. We control our own destiny with the number 1 pick, and we are going to do everything we can to make sure we have it. And I think a guy that's not going to take that line down is James Robinson, who just got subbed from the Pro Bowl. And I like James Robinson and what he can bring the fire in this matchup. Matt, you're shaking your head. You're the James Robinson guy. You don't like him this week?
I am a huge James Robinson guy. He is dealing with a high ankle sprain. He may not even play this week.
Oh,
and if you are the Jacksonville Jaguars, ownership, management, coaching staff, maybe not the coaching staff because they're all going to get fired anyway, you may decide to hold him out this week because he is nursing that high ankle sprain, thus putting your hopes to win this matchup in Chris Thompson's hands.
Well, you got to think of it. You got to think of it this way: holding out James Robinson also kind of helps you keep that number 1 pick for Trevor.
Right.
That's exactly what it does.
I mean, not saying that's what they're doing, but it does swing things in your favor that way.
Yeah, you mentioned something that you got right, Matt. One of the things that we got right, one of the few things we got right on this show a few weeks back, probably going back to week 6, 7, 8, when it looked hopeless for one David Montgomery. We were talking about buying him, and his matchup looked really good. Another one, really good matchup in this one. I assume there's just full speed ahead with him in your lineup, right?
I think the last 5 weeks, David Montgomery is the running back 6 or even higher in the way scoring is going. And that number is just going to keep growing because he's going to be a big part of this game. I can see another 140 yards, 2 touchdown performance here. Trubisky's going to keep feeding Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson was the biggest winner, but Foles getting his ass back to the bench. Trubisky coming back in. Because Trubisky is a superior athlete compared to Nick Foles. There's no question about it. I don't know where people are getting this Foles crap from. It was false. I think it's just because they want to hate on Trubisky. I get it. Trubisky, I don't even think people hate Trubisky. I think they just hate the fact they could have had Mahomes or Watson. I really think that's what it is. Well, guess what? I'm sorry. you have Trubisky. Well, let's try and use him the best way you can. Find a way to use him. Maybe Nagy needs to get off his ass and actually design some plays and do some stuff, just like, I don't know, Peterson should have done with Carson Wentz that he did for Jalen Hurts. Just saying.
Yeah. Maybe they can be as creative. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, nonetheless, nevermore. We're still talking Jags offense here. I think Gardner Minshew, he's not going to go down without a fight, regardless of what they try to do or who's in their lineup. He wants to sling the ball around because he's done in Jacksonville if they finish with the number 1 overall pick. It's pretty simple. So he's not going down without a fight. Minshew Mania kind of took a bit of a kick in the nuts there last week, but we'll see what happens this week and see if they can get rolling again, because we've seen the magic from Minshew once upon a time, and the Bears are not the greatest team ever, but right now this looks like a pretty easy win for the Bears, but I would not be counting out the Jags this one.
You guys remember like 2 weeks ago when every talk show was talking about how the New York Giants were great all of a sudden? Yeah, that feels like forever ago now. And this week they go in and they are facing the Baltimore Ravens, who actually have looked better lately. And this is another team that is going to be in that bubble that needs this win. They're facing a Giants defense that's not very good against the run. We've got J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards that I feel like I'm firing those guys up. Lamar Jackson looks like a league winner type quarterback again. And Mark Andrews looked good. I don't think I'm starting any Giants, though, at all. Is anybody else just completely fading all Giants as long as Jason Garrett or Freddie Kitchens or whoever they have running that offense is?
I don't know if I feel comfortable starting anyone anywhere in this matchup. If you think about it, last week against the Jags, Lamar Jackson had a fantastic game, let's call it, but he was only 17 of 22 for 243 yards. He had those 3 touchdowns, but 243 yards. I don't think the problem here is James Bradbury. He's out still, I think, right? Is Bradbury back or is he not? That's a big difference maker here, having Bradbury back in the lineup. He was on COVID last week. He may be back this week. I got to get confirmation on that. But we talked about how we thought that I preached how I thought the Ravens could have 200-yard rushers last week, 2 of them in Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. Well, here's the thing. Dobbins touched the ball 14 times for 64 yards and a touchdown. Gus Edwards only had 9 carries for 42 yards. So, yeah, they were averaging 4.6 and 4.7 yards per carry, but they still only had 23 rushes because Lamar Jackson needed to get his 10 in for 35 yards.
Right.
As much as I would love to start J.K. Dobbins, I don't know if I can in this matchup against – I know we talk about the Giants' defense hasn't looked as good as what it has been, but I still do not discredit that Giants' defense, especially if James Bradbury's back in there. Not only as a vocal leader, but shutting down that little bit of a passing game, because Marquise Brown had his game, 6 catches, 98 yards last week. That means he's done for the next 3 games. That's kind of how it works with Marquise Brown. He disappears. Mark Andrews, 5 catches for 66. Gus Edwards, 2 catches for 36. This is not a team that you're like, man, that's an offensive powerhouse. Those are off. Like, and you look at the numbers, like you look at the score, 40-14. But then you take a look inside those stat sheet stuffers, and you take a look deep into it, and you're like, there's nothing here. There's nothing here. And the Giants are still in the thick of the NFC East playoff picture. They could still get in with 6 wins or 7 wins or whatever that number is. They could still host a playoff game.
That's crazy. That's
yes,
crazy.
Yes, they did win 3 in a row, but it's like the Trojan horse. I don't think not all wins are created equal, and I would have expected a lot more offense coming out of the Ravens against the Jags last week than we saw. Yes, there's 40 points, but look inside the numbers a little deeper. I don't think those stats are going to be quite there with the Giants this week. And outside of Lamar Jackson, I don't think I'm starting anyone besides maybe Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I'm probably not starting no Giants except Blake Martinez and Ryan. I think I feel really comfortable starting those 2, but offensively, I don't think you start anybody. Even Gallman, I know he's been a big flex play, had some good games, but can you really trust him? I don't know. For me on the Giants, I'm starting Martinez and Ryan. I think that's your best two options on IDP side, and then the rest of them, I don't know if you can start a Slayton. I don't know if you can start Gallman. You know, I guess it depends on your roster, or whatever. But for me,
why do you got to keep neglecting saying his name?
Who?
Oh, big sexy there, Leonard Williams.
Oh,
yeah.
I forget about him.
I do. I did forget about him. Yeah, I would feel all right playing him. I would.
Damn,
I think that's
Skippy,
a good play. Those three. And hello, Dougie. We see you down there.
what's up, Doug?
Yes, the name change did throw me for a loop. I have to be honest.
I was like, Takedown Sports. What the heck is this? What's going on here? I don't know who this is.
Yeah, Coach's screen looks like someone trying to sell me a blender for.
By the way, I will take that $14.99. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
there might not be a blender involved, but I'll be more than happy to take the $14.99.
Yeah, set up a Patreon for that.
The home shopping network run by Dingus.
Yeah, I love it. So, I don't know. I disagree. I do feel like I'm playing Dobbins, and I do feel like I'm playing Edwards this week. I think they're going to run the ball. I think they're going to have success that way. Bradbury is playing, and, so I don't love the passing game. I'm with you. But what you just described is basically what the Baltimore Ravens are. Those pass attempts, those are going to be basically, those rush attempts, that's what this offense is going to be. So hopefully they get in the end zone. I think they will. And those are the guys I'm starting. I want to move on to Cincinnati coming off of game of the year for them. They definitely are, they went into Pittsburgh and pulled off the upset that I don't think anybody thought they could. Now they face Houston.
I can't.
Houston is going to be looking to light it up against the Bengals. Hollywood.
Nice.
I'm trying to set up these segues for you. The nice transition. That's what I do here.
Yeah, Cincinnati was they were fired up last week. The logo stomping thing, I think that just set them on fire. I think you roll your same guys out there. Jesse Bates is a good play. Von Bell's a good play. Jermaine Pratt maybe on defense at linebacker, I think maybe has a good week. Offensively, I think you're probably going with Giovanni Bernard. With Mixon out, he's getting all the looks, all the carries, all the touches. So I think that's a good play. The receiving and quarterback scares me with Finley. Although he had that big, long rushing touchdown, I get it, but he's not doing a whole lot. So if you got him, I don't think you're relying on him, which kind of hurts the receivers too a little bit.
Can we talk about that big run there? I want the record to state that people are giving Highsmith too much shit for that on that play. In that Pittsburgh defense, understand this. It's his job to crash. It's the middle linebacker's job to come outside. And
it is. Dang, we said this the other night. He bit hard on that. He
did bite hard, but it wasn't his responsibility is to crash in. It's a middle linebacker to come out.
I get that, but do you not still have to play with a side eye, looking? You have to recognize that play's fixing to go by you. He didn't even recognize it was running by him.
No, he was too busy trying to do his job and crash. Now, when you do your job, you do exactly what you're supposed to do. You should still have your head on the swivel. You know what I mean? But he's the one who's taking all the heat on this, except maybe in the Steelers locker room, because the players know exactly what the call was on that play.
And I don't even remember who the outside linebacker was.
Well, he is the outside linebacker.
No, the middle. I don't think it was Williamson.
Who knows? That's their problem. They don't have anyone. They've lost Bush. They've lost Spielman. They've lost all these other guys. They're down to a linebacker fours in middle linebacker. And that middle linebacker is an important role because you have TJ Watt. You have Highsmith in there right now recovering for Bud Dupree. You've got these guys doing that, but now you've got no experience other than Avery Williamson, who's pretty new to that Steelers defense as well. So just saying, let's back off on Highsmith on that.
Yeah, I ain't blaming Highsmith completely. I'm just saying he did bite really hard. We seen that. I mean, it was clear and evident. He didn't even see him going by him. I just think I say it like this: an experienced player, a TJ Watt, he probably sees that happening and can adjust and make that play. Highsmith, no experience, maybe not as talented yet. You know, that got by him. Maybe he's kind of tunnel visioned in a way. Like Coach said, he's doing his job. So I'm pretty sure it wasn't Williamson. I don't know who the other inside linebacker was, but I'm pretty sure it was not Williamson. So, I mean, I get it. But, yeah, Highsmith has been taking the heat, a lot of heat for that.
Anyway, now let's flip it back to the Bengals and Houston matchup here.
I was going to say that's an interesting little look into both of you guys. When you're watching film and you see that on film, how each of you might look at that if you see it. So that's an interesting little glimpse into what you guys are doing. And we got some magazines that are coming out later that
magazines.
I'll be able to check that out. So
is this the adult variety?
Oh, maybe.
No.
I
mean, Dingus did get waxed. I'm just saying.
You might see mustaches that resemble that of Gio Bernard. And we're talking about Gio Bernard because I want to ask you, do you like Gio in this matchup or Leonard Fournette, who we've talked about?
Gio. I think he's got more of an impact in the receiving game.
It is a good matchup here.
I just don't know that I can trust Fournette. I really don't. I think that's my problem. I think if he'd been doing it all year and I could trust him, I would go with Fournette here. But
I think Bernard is going to have the volume. The volume is going to be there.
Right.
Hines only had 2 catches for about 11 yards against the Texans last week. So they didn't use the backs in the passing game against the Texans. They had a little bit of success running, 16 carries for Taylor for 83 yards, and then 5 carries for 43 for Hines in the running game. So maybe Bernard factors in that way. I don't know if he factors in the passing game as much, but that's definitely an option there. On the flip side, Houston finally got Brandon Cooks back. So they were able to roll out Cooks and Hanson and Kuti, all with between 50 and 60 yards in the receiving game. The big winner in the receiving game last week, David Johnson went off for 11 catches, 106 yards. Deshaun Watson is playing with Hanson and Kuti as his primary receivers. Got Cooks back last week. David Johnson was the leading receiver with 11 catches, 106 yards. He only had 27 yards rushing.
Yep.
But he had that huge 106 that I didn't see coming. I did not see Indianapolis giving up 106 yards receiving to a running back. I could see the Bengals giving up 100 yards receiving to a running back. That's definitely the possibility.
Yeah.
And how big has Kuti and Hanson been? And I really liked Hanson. Was it California he come out of?
I believe he was out of Cal, yeah.
Yeah. Was really high on him coming out of college. He went to the Jets, just never latched on or whatever there. So it's nice to see him go to Houston and get a role, even if it took some injuries ahead of him. But sometimes that's all it takes. I mean, and he's done well so far. So
Kuti seems like he's getting the volume, but Hanson does seem like he's getting those deeper shots right now. And man, Deshaun Watson looks so good, man. I'm excited to see what they do in the offseason, maybe more than any other team. You know, needing a new coach, bringing in an offensive coordinator, you know, continuing to fill out that roster. Like I'm just really excited to see who they bring in. And like Dingus says, keep them coming. For anybody out there, let's keep the comments coming in, and we're gonna move on. We're gonna keep going here, and we got another really interesting matchup to talk about. We've got Denver against the Chargers. This is a divisional matchup. We've got Denver, who announced this week that they're bringing everybody back. So, you know, we were thinking maybe there was going to be some changes there, but Pat Shurmur is going to get another chance with his offense. I'm not convinced they're not going to bring another quarterback, but they just kind of feel like with COVID, they're going to bring everybody back. And I like that for Noah Fant. I think that means really good things for him. He's thrived in this offense. Shurmur likes to highlight the tight end. So I think in Dynasty, I'm really excited about what it means for him. Allen, Keenan Allen, that's an interesting one. He let us down last week. If somehow you sneak in and he's healthy and playing in this matchup, Dingus, are you trusting Keenan Allen in your lineup?
I have to trust Keenan Allen in my lineup. I need to get him back in. I need to get him going. I think he had some time off, so I think we should be good for him. I'm not going to lie. It was kind of nice to see what Herbert could do without Allen, to see him trust his other receivers so he's not forcing the ball into Allen's hands all the time. Jalen Guyton, he came up. He stepped up big. Tyron Johnson came in. He stepped up big. Hunter Henry finally had a good game here as well. So it was almost like they played better as a team without their best player available because they weren't trying to force it. Sound familiar, Baker Mayfield? Yes, it should sound familiar because Baker Mayfield got rolling too once OBJ went down and wasn't having to force the ball in his hands. Herbert doesn't force the ball into Keenan Allen's hands, and the offense starts clicking again. Not that wasn't – the offense has never been the problem in Charger land. Let's be honest. It's been that defense. I'm trusting Allen. I'm trusting Eckler. I'm trusting Herbert. I'm trusting – you know what? I might even give Jalen Guyton a shot here and Hunter Henry. I might let him come back to my heart again. On the flip side of the ball, or on the flip side of the field over to the Denver side, I still can't trust Drew Lock or anything Drew Lock does. I can't trust any of his options in the passing game. But, boy, Melvin Gordon has looked fantastic. I think Melvin Gordon could be a league winner for you right now, even against the Chargers defense.
Melvin Gordon does look good, and Philip Lindsay's hurt. So what about you, Hollywood? Have you been
I really like the Melvin Gordon one. I think, people are kind of all over the place on him, but I think that's a really good playoff championship win move for you. I still like Noah Fant for them. At linebacker, I like A.J. Johnson. He's been consistent for them pretty much all season long. He's going to get you a lot of tackles. And it seems like Denver has that friendly scoring system like we know Green Bay has and Buffalo has. So I like that. I don't like any of the other options on offense. I'm staying away from Drew Lock. I'm staying away from the receivers. Although Tim Patrick he's been pretty good, better than I would expect. But I think I don't want to rely on him. But if he's a flex play for you, I give you that. I like that. I think the opportunity for him to hit for a long touchdown is pretty good. The Chargers, man, you're playing Eckler, you're playing Allen, you're playing Herbert, you're playing Henry. Defensively, you're playing Bosa.
That's so dumb. You should have got
At linebacker, Kenneth Murray, he's kind of disappeared for a little bit, but I think he's beginning to heat back up, so he's a good option if you need that slash linebacker 2/3 option. But, yeah, that's kind of the guys I'm looking at.
I think Tim Patrick is an interesting one in this matchup that not quite sure exactly what to do with in the leagues that I've got him.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about it. Who are we taking him over or who are we not? I mean, where would you put him that you think that it's a close decision?
So let's feel that out a little bit. So Tim Patrick or let's start with T. Higgins. Who do you like better?
Higgins.
Yeah, I think I got to go Higgins, even with the – yeah.
All right. Tim Patrick or Emmanuel Sanders?
Oh, I think I take
Tim
Patrick.
Okay. That's about the right range. That's kind of like the wide receiver 3 kind of flex option if you need somebody in there. That's that's kind of right about in that range. I think that's good.
I started Emmanuel Sanders last week in one league. Yeah.
He did good. He did good.
Oh, by the way, he had one catch, 1 yards.
Double-digit points?
Hey, Calvin, did you know we were man up there this week in one of our leagues?
Oh yeah,
I should kick you.
Yeah, I saw it after I realized that I had like who did I have in my lineup, like James Conner or something, or Zeke or somebody like that.
You could have stuck about. It doesn't matter. There's no way you were beating me last week. I just put a whooping on you. I got to pull that stat out. I got to find that. It wasn't even close. It's like 100 points I whooped you by.
Oh, get out of here. I didn't even Hollywood, you're in that league too.
Also, don't fact check me.
No, don't fact check me.
Hollywood, about Carolina and Washington. Something much more fun to talk about. Not fun is Christian McCaffrey is not playing, it looks like. So I don't think there's any chance that we're starting Mike Davis in our lineups. I do think DJ Moore could be an interesting play here. He looked good last week coming off COVID. Looks like he is building that rapport with Teddy Bridgewater. Then Robbie Anderson's kind of seemed to fade back a little bit. So I dynasty-wise, I like to see that. I think that's good for his value. On the other side, I don't know that Antonio Gibson's going to play. Either way, I think I still like J.D. McKissick. McKissick actually I thought he's looked okay in his opportunities, and I think he could have some more here. So, yeah, Hollywood, what about this matchup, Carolina-Washington? Obviously, we're excited about a lot of the defensive players there.
Oh, yeah, we're loving the Washington defense. Front four, Sweat, Allen, Payne, Chase Young. Loving Cameron Curl. He's been a great addition that you've probably picked up and probably helping you win down the stretch. Carolina, it's kind of sucks they don't have CMC again, but and I've heard this the last few weeks. Where are we at, or where are you guys at with DJ Moore? Where are you putting him? Is he a definite starter? Is he wide receiver 2? Where are you slotting him in at? I mean, I'm curious because I have him in some leagues, and like one of my home league, I had I'm kind of loaded at receiver, so I had Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown, I've got DJ Moore, I've got some other guys, but we only start 2, so naturally I went AJ Brown and Tyreek Hill, and probably should have started DJ Moore last week. I think he scored the better points than Brown, but the prior week, couple of weeks prior to that, he hadn't. So,
right.
What are you all doing with him?
So I'm going to go here. I'm going to field this one first because, quite frankly, I'm just going to start talking. DJ Moore is still the wide receiver 1 on the Carolina Panthers.
I get that, but where are you putting him in the grand scheme?
Just wait. I'm not done talking.
I interrupt you. You should know this.
AJ Brown is the wide receiver 2 on his own team. So I've been trying to figure out why you started the number 2 receiver on your team when you could have started the number 1 wide receiver, and that's why you had issues. Corey Davis season, rock on. That all said, DJ Moore for me is a borderline, a back-end wide receiver 1, a high-end wide receiver 2. It's kind of where I have him kind of put in. I have him as a number between 10 and 14, 15 is kind of where you can slot him in on this one. That's where I feel you could put him.
Okay.
I feel comfortable, really comfortable, if he's my wide receiver 2.
Right. And yeah. I don't disagree with that. But I know some people are kind of still pushing him as the 1, and I just don't know that I don't know that I feel good with that.
Dynasty, I still think he's a top 10 wide receiver going forward.
Yeah, because he's young. He's young. He's really talented. I'm really curious to see. A lot of people think Joe Brady's going to be gone next year, so there's going to be a different offense. Kind of curious what that team looks like.
Here's the thing.
Are you trusting him this week in the championship game?
Yeah, I'll trust him this week. I'll put him as my wide receiver 2, my wide receiver 1, wherever I got to put him in. I want him in my lineup. I'm putting him in my lineup. Here's the thing, dynasty-wise with him. Mike Davis is not Christian McCaffrey.
Exactly.
They're not sticking 8 men in the box to defend Mike Davis. That means there's extra guys in coverage. That means an extra guy over top of DJ Moore, making it more difficult for DJ Moore. Christian McCaffrey coming back in changes that offense, changes DJ Moore's value going forward. I still trust in DJ Moore.
I do too, and he's starting to get more of the volume, and I definitely like that. If you got to the championship, though, much like you're saying, Hollywood, you might have a better option. And one of the things you can look at here with Washington, that's a tough matchup. It's been a tough defense. They've given up the third least amount of fantasy points to wide receivers over the course of the year. So if I'm looking for a reason to sit them and I've got other options, guys that are in better matchups, maybe like a Cooper Kupp, somebody like that who's facing against Seattle, who's got a tough, they can be beat through the secondary. They give up a lot of points to wide receivers. That's kind of the range I'm kind of thinking. Like I'd rather have Kupp. I'd probably rather have another guy in this matchup, Terry McLaurin.
I was going to say, who do you want here? Do you want Terry McLaurin or DJ Moore?
Yeah, I want McLaurin.
I'll take McLaurin all day. Yeah.
Okay, I want to say this. Flipping over to the IDP side, was it not finally refreshing to see Deontay Jackson ball out last week?
Yes.
He was playing some fantastic. That might have been the best game I have ever seen Deontay Jackson play since coming to the league. He actually looked like a corner that you could put on your NFL roster, not just a corner on your fantasy football team. Because we talked about it, not all corners for fantasy football are created equal. You're targeting corners who are going to get targeted. So you want Deontay Jackson because he's horrible. However, against Green Bay, against Devontae Adams of all players, he showed out last week, and it was actually kind of refreshing to see because
he's got some definite talent. I mean, there's no question about it. And I'll kind of go the other way with you. Jimmy Moreland for the Redskins, super talented guy from James Madison, has showed some has had some games with some big plays in it. But then again, he's had some games where he's just, they're constantly picking at him. They're constantly throwing. So, I mean, it's I'm with you on that. Yeah, I like Jackson a lot.
Devontae Adams had 7 catches for 42 yards. Deontay Jackson had 3 tackles.
What if J. Mike said it only took him 3 years to show up?
Also, I don't see the lie there.
I didn't say it was a lie. I just said it took him 3 years to show up.
But here's nothing. So he's coming off that. So there's a good chance that he's the guy on Terry McLaurin. Are we going to see the Deontay Jackson we've seen every single game before last week? Are we going to see Deontay Jackson go 2 games in a row? Because let's be honest, look who's possibly starting for the Washington Football Club. Can you guys tell me who's starting? One guy is still battling a bit of a calf injury. The other guy was too busy looking up at women's calves at a strip club.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
And I think the third guy's name is like Taylor Lewicki. I can't remember what his name is now. And here's
the thing. Here's who we need to be talking about in this entire game for Carolina is probably going to be your defensive rookie of the year in Jeremy Chen. This kid, man, he is doing he's carrying that defense basically. I mean, week in, week out, you look, he's filling the box score. I mean, there's nothing he can't do. Tackles, he comes down and plays in the box sometimes, forcing fumbles, recovering fumbles, deflecting passes. I mean, it's he's going to be something special for a long time. And maybe, I'm not afraid to say this. I think he's good. He might be the best safety in the league.
So Taylor Heinicke was taking reps at the 1 spot because Dwayne Haskins decided not to wear a mask and go to the Rippers.
Hey,
and now he's been stripped.
He's just trying to help those girls through college, Coach. Come on.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure that's exactly his thought process.
Got a big heart.
He's a giver.
As a result of going to strippers, the team has stripped him of his captaincy. And Taylor Heinicke has been taking runs with the ones today.
Oh,
I'm telling you right now, if Taylor Heinicke is my quarterback, I cannot, in good conscience, recommend Terry McLaurin this week.
They don't have the balls to run him out there at QB.
Let's say you're Taylor Heinicke, though. Okay, and you get a chance to go play. Are you throwing the ball to Cam Sims, or are you throwing the ball up to Terry McLaurin?
I think you don't know where you're throwing the ball because you haven't taken the snap in your entire career.
I don't know. I still like him. Look, Washington controls their own destiny. They could wind up being the NFC champs and NFC East champs.
And that defense is good enough to win them some games.
I'm interested to see how that certainly goes. But let's go to the other NFC East matchup that somebody's got to win this game. And actually, both teams looked pretty good last week. Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. Hurts looks like the real deal, and all of a sudden he's making a lot of those Carson Wentz excuses look pretty silly.
Mm-hmm.
Can you keep that going here, Hollywood, against the Cowboys?
I think he does because Dallas is crap. I mean, they are. I mean, I'm not the biggest Cowgirl fan to start with, but man, losing Dak really hurt them, and Ezekiel has just been such a disappointment and everything. But their defense has been nothing special this year. I mean, they've had problems in the secondary, on the back end back there. You had Aldon Smith. Yeah, he was a great comeback story to begin the season, but you take those first 4 weeks out probably, if I'm right off the top of my head. After those first 4 weeks, he's only had 1 week that he was really lived up to his promise, and that was the week he had the big fumble return. Other than that, he's not done much of nothing else. Randy Gregory's not really done a whole lot. LVE's been banged up. Jalen Smith is probably the one and only bright spot for that defense. On offense, Andy Dalton was out. They started DiNucci for a week, and you got Dalton back, which helps. I like Tony Pollard as a flex. I do love Tony Pollard as flex, especially if Ezekiel doesn't play this week.
Yeah.
This week, Pollard's a really great play. And Dingus will love this. A few weeks ago, I actually traded Kalon Farrell straight up for Tony Pollard. So I think I come out winning that big time. So, and that was before, Elliott was out. This was when he was still the starter. So, Dallas, I don't want anything to do with Dallas except Jalen Smith. I think that's the only one. Offense, I think you're looking at Tony Pollard. The receivers I like. I don't know that I'm calling them world beaters, Cooper, Lamb, Gallup, but they will be solid, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia's got a tough defense, man. I mean, that front four, it's tough. And then you got Singleton at linebacker. I like him. I like Barnett. You like Fletcher. You like Malik Jackson and those guys. I love Hurts. I think Philadelphia kind of just walks them right on out of the building here. I do. I'm big on Philadelphia this week.
First off, everyone knows where I stand on Pollard. We took him over Ezekiel Elliott. We're still taking him over Ezekiel Elliott. Here's the difference. Pollard is electric in the passing game.
He's got juice.
Electric. Ezekiel Elliott does not have the same juice in the passing game. You're not going to be able to run between the tackles on Hargrave and Fletcher Cox. Ain't happening. So now you got to go to rethinking. Elliott, I don't think would be effective even if he was playing this game, which he might. I don't know. But for me, Pollard is still the number one running back in Dallas. Dallas has some issues here. They're paying Elliott a ridiculous amount of money to be a running back.
What's he got left on his contract? Do you know right off?
I don't know, 4 years ago. He's brand new.
Okay.
So their best running back is Pollard. They're paying a shit ton of money to – I got to really watch my language too. They're paying a lot of money to Leighton Vander Esch, who may or may not play more than 10 games a season because of his neck history and stuff. So
he's the new Sean Lee.
He is. They got to replace the committee, right? So you've invested all this money, but you still won't invest in the number one position on your team. Oh boy, J. Mike, what are you doing to me?
What did he say?
You know what? Normally I would
a 2022 first or Tony Pollard. Is this a buy high time on Pollard?
I don't know if I'm quite ready to give a 2022 first.
I'm taking Pollard.
I'd probably go 2022 second because let's be honest, anytime you trade away a draft pick for a player, especially in 2022, you have time to recoup that draft pick somewhere down the road. So
right.
I just don't know what Dallas has in store. There's a little uncertainty. As much as I think Pollard is the best running back they have, I don't think Dallas thinks that at this time.
Maybe not, but what are we doing with Elliott right now? Does he bounce back? Or is this going to be kind of the norm for him?
I think that's the thing. I know we haven't seen anything that would tell us that Elliott's going to bounce back.
Right.
This 3.2 yards per carry is not exactly screaming.
And now he's got this fumbling problem this year all of a sudden.
Well, and here's the biggest thing here with Dallas. Their line, and I talked about this for Philly, their line has been beat up all season too. They don't have Ezekiel Elliott's big old hogs in front of them like they've had the last little while.
Yeah,
so
that's for sure.
If they get that line back, maybe that gets Elliott back. So for me, as much as I think you can still recoup a 2022 first-round pick, I probably wouldn't want to give more than a 2022 second for Pollard or 2021 second for Pollard at this point. Now, flipping this over, last week we talked about David Johnson being effective in the passing game. Pollard was incredibly effective in the passing game, 6 catches for 63 yards. He was the number 2 receiver in that game against the 49ers. CD Lamb had 5 for 85. Gallup and Cooper was not even known. I think he had like 2 catches for 10 yards. I don't have the number right in front of me because it didn't really matter. Flip that over to the Philadelphia team there, and they're spreading that ball. We're seeing Alshon Jeffrey get involved. We're seeing Greg Ward Jr. get involved. We're seeing Jalen Reagor getting used in a bunch of different ways that make your sweatpants move. You know what I'm saying? They're getting him in jet sweeps. They're getting him on the deep pass. Did he have success last week? Not necessarily, but it's coming. I'm telling you, there's going to be another huge Jalen Reagor breakout. And I think against the Dallas Cowboys, Jordan Lewis and that group of DBs ain't going to be able to contain Jalen Reagor. Fire him up. I feel confident. I'd put him as a wide receiver 2 this week.
Yeah, I would go with that because their secondary is trash. And you're getting no pass rush up front from Alden Smith, Lawrence, or Gregory. You really got no help at your other linebacker spots other than Jalen Smith right now. So, I'm kind of firing up everybody for Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia just goes in there, like I said earlier. I think they walk them completely out of the building this week.
Except Travis Fulgham. Don't start Travis Fulgham.
I know. It's weird that he's just kind of just freaking disappeared.
But the thing is, like,
Fulgham, is he
one thing about Jalen Hurts that is the one negative you would say. It's not really a negative for him, but it's a negative for the people that are around him, is that he is spreading the ball around a lot, and he is getting Greg Ward involved and Dallas Goedert. And Zach Ertz is even making some big plays for him. And he's utilizing a lot of his receivers, Alshon Jeffrey. And I would like to see him get Reagor way more involved. I think that is going to be a point of emphasis because I think that's the kind of coach that Peterson can be. And so I hope he does. I want to just go back to Zeke real quick. With Dak, 22.7 fantasy points a game. Without Dak, 10.6 fantasy points a game. He needs Dak. He does need the offensive line as well, but I think Dak really helps set him free. I think he's going to be a buy over the offseason as he gets pushed down, in my opinion, too far. But let's move on. We're crossed over our time. We're overtime. So lightning round.
Overtime.
Rams in desperate need of a bounce back, a slump buster, you might say, against the Seattle
slump buster.
You need
everyone busting this slump.
You need them to do well. No Cam Akers in this matchup. So what about Darrell Henderson? Are you interested in him this week, Matt?
No. I'm not, but people might be. And I think you can trust Henderson a little bit. I'm not interested because he's like no.
I think he'll get the volume.
Put him in the Iron Maiden costume and let him hang out in the basement. It's going to be a Robert Woods. It's going to be a Cooper Kupp. It's going to be Jared Goff. They got a bad taste in their mouth from the Jets. Jared Goff, you know what? And here's the thing. I needed Woods and Goff to go off. I needed Cooper Kupp to go off to advance many, many playoffs last week. Obviously, I did not advance. So that means this week they are going to light it up.
I don't know about all that. I mean, those guys will have good games, but the Rams as a whole, I kind of see it differently. You lose to the Jets like that, somebody that you should have just freaking curb stomped, and you let them just basically run all over you.
If you cannot
you got Seattle this week, I can see this ending badly for the Rams. You lose to Seattle this week, that's 2 in a row. This is that loss last week to the Jets is a thing that will snowball if you don't get ahead of it real quick.
The Seahawks are the Rams' girlfriend, and they will get it up for the Rams and the Seahawks. And I will tell you, this is first place on the line.
Well, I mean, if you can't get it up for your girlfriend, who can you?
Exactly. So I think they get it up here.
I love that we got the added benefit of knowing from your sister that your mom later is going to be watching this. So we get to know that your mom is watching you talk about girlfriends getting it up. I really like that we have that extra layer of everything that you say, knowing your mom's going to watch it. So that's the Rams side. I agree with you. I want to start all of my Rams. I think the Jets, that was probably a trap game where they're looking forward to this one. This one's going to be for the division. They can wrestle it back from the Seahawks. What about the Seahawks side? That's a tough Rams defense. Russell Wilson, DK, Lockett, Chris Carson. Hollywood, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely starting Aaron Donald. You're definitely starting Jalen Ramsey, I think. You're starting my mind just went blank. The linebacker coach, help me.
Reader?
Yeah. I don't know what to do with Seattle. I don't, because Russell's not been cooking lately the last 5 games. I think, off the top of my head, I want to say he's had one really good performance, maybe a second decent performance in the last 5 games. They've got to protect him. They've got to keep Aaron Donald off him, or it's just going to go bad. But I'm these kind of losses to like the Jets. Yeah, you think they would be pissed off and ready to come in here and restake their claim, but sometimes, and we've seen it before, this thing snowballs. It's like you're shell shocked almost. And I don't know for Seattle, I think you're starting Hyde and Carson if they're healthy. You're starting the receivers Lockett and Metcalf. You're starting Russell Wilson, obviously. Defensively, you're starting Wagner. You're starting Jamal Adams. Man, Jamal Adams he's so good.
You guys remember exactly what Metcalf had against Jalen Ramsey there last time they met? He had 2 catches for 28 yards. 2 catches for 28 yards on 4 targets. The Rams are going to be pissed off going into this. You can't have Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. They are the vocal leaders on that defense. They will be fired up for this one.
I get you, but I just don't know that I trust Jared Goff to be. I just don't trust him to have that same intensity.
Well, I'll say it here. Goff outperforms Russell Wilson this week.
Ooh.
I think a lot of people will outperform Russell Wilson. You said it. He hasn't been very good last 6 weeks, only averaging 20.1 points per game. That is not very good ultimately for a quarterback in those kind of scoring settings. So we got 2 more games to talk about. Let's jump over to our Sunday night game, and I think this is a game that's going to mean a lot to you, Hollywood Titan. And it means a lot to the playoffs. We got the Titans, and we got the Green Bay Packers, and the Titans are another one that's kind of right in that range. They need to win this game. And the Packers can hold on to the number 1 seed and make everything in the NFC go through Green Bay. But they are facing a Titans team that's going to want to bully them, play some bully ball, keep the ball into Henry's hands and run it down their throats. What do you think happens in this matchup here, Hollywood?
I'm cutting off Hollywood again. I want to point out 2 things. First off, this is like movable object and whatever the opposite of what that saying is, because the Packers can't stop the run and the Titans can't stop the pass. So this will be a fantastic, interesting thing. And also, before I pass this over to Hollywood, this is creating a house divided on IDP Nation. We got the Hollywood Titans, and we got the Kyle Belfuel's Packers facing off in this matchup. Now, Hollywood.
Yeah, Kyle's been filling in the last few weeks for Dan while he's away, and we've done 2 or 3 shows, and it might be our last show that we do after this. So who knows here? But I agree with Coach. Tennessee cannot freaking stop the pass. We just can't. It's been horrible. We're missing Logan Ryan so badly. You're being exposed because I think he covered up a lot of shit last year that you're seeing now that happens. And you're right. Green Bay cannot stop the run. We are going to run Derrick Henry right down their freaking throat, and they're going to throw the ball all over the field. I could see this being a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be a really high-scoring game. One factor that may play into who wins could be, can Green Bay keep Jeffrey Simmons and that group, can they keep them off of Aaron Rodgers? If they can get back there and pressure Rodgers and get some hits on him and make him uncomfortable, then I think it makes it just a little harder for them to win. Derrick Henry, they're just going to run him all day. They're going to run him until they can't run him no more. I think you've got I'm not liking Green Bay's linebackers either. I mean, Kirksey was supposed to come in and fill Blake Martinez's role. He's not even come close. They've went to Chris Barnes and Ty Summers, and I forget the other guy's name, so they're kind of searching there.
Barnesy's been kind of fun to watch at times. I've
he
kind of
has.
liked the traits I've seen.
Yeah, he has. How is Jair Alexander and Josh Jackson and Darnell Savage, how are they going to do with A.J. Brown and Corey Davis? And then how are they going to help in the run? That's going to be key too, because I expect one of those 3 to just get stiff arms straight to China. I don't know which one, but one of them's getting it. But yeah, I don't think this is going to be an easy game for Tennessee by any means. I can really see this being 30+ for both teams. I don't know. It's kind of nervous. My only wish is that outside of winning, that we get enough yards for Henry that it becomes easy the following week when we play Houston, so he can get to 2,000. So
yeah,
and it's very achievable because he's run over Houston too. So I mean, he could get 200 against both of them, but.
Well, 'tis the season, and of course it's Corey Davis season. What do you think, Matt?
Yes,
I'm interested. Here's my thing. I want to see if the wide receiver 1 for Green Bay can keep up with the wide receiver 1 from Tennessee and Corey Davis. Is it going to be Devontae Adams? Is it going to be Corey Davis? Who's going to be the leading receiver of this game? You know where my heart lies. But it's for the one who's not going to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah. I understand. I get it. I understand. But the Pro Bowl is a popularity contest. I hate the Pro Bowl. I hate every freaking thing about it. I hate how it's set up, where it's at, how it's played, everything. All Pro, I love that. And I think All Pro is more of a legitimate because of how it's done, who's voting on it. But the Pro Bowl, I don't even –
well, we've seen what happens when we let people vote. I don't want to say we're going to get away from democracy here, but when you let people vote on things, you're not going to like the way it responds. It's not going to be a true indication of how things should happen.
And yes, J-Mac, they will be a house divided. Me or Kyle 1 is going to have to lick our wounds after this week. So I don't know that we can be friends anymore.
Yeah, this is the worst one. Evan Ingram, he didn't even think he should be in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Over Tanyan, too, who's in this matchup, who we're starting, by the way.
Who's going to be a difficult matchup.
So Evan Ingram is second amongst tight ends in receiving yards in the NFC. However, Robert Tonyan has 10 touchdowns. 10 touchdowns. That is Pro Bowl snub, whatever you want to call it.
Take a Jonnu Smith over him. He's got, what, eight touchdowns, I think? So,
yeah, but he's in the AFC, so it doesn't really matter.
True, but, I mean, I'm just – Ingram, I don't know where that come from. I really don't. I just don't get it.
See what happens when people don't have George Kittle to vote for?
Oh, my God.
So a lot of people are going to be going into Monday night riding the Josh Allen train, needing a Monday Night Miracle from him. He's been really good. He's probably gotten a lot of people here to the championship. He's one of those guys that's outperformed. Stephon Diggs has. He's a little bit hobbled. He didn't practice today, so we're going to be watching that report. Cole Beasley, definitely firing him up. On the other side, there's not a single New England Patriot I'm interested in having in my lineup at all. What do you guys think?
I agree with you. There's not a New England Patriot I'm trusting. Damian Harris still a little bit banged up. I don't think he's playing anytime soon. Jacoby Myers, if I'm looking for a desperate play on a Monday Night Miracle, he may be my guy I roll to. Cam Newton, I'm not trusting. Nope. Obviously, Josh Allen, you're firing up. You're firing up the likes of Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley. We talked about this here a couple weeks ago. I talked about little brother finally beating up on big brother with the Miami Dolphins. Well, the middle child is the Buffalo Bills, and they get no respect from nobody, even though they're clearly the best team in the division. I don't think we're showing them enough respect on how good of a team they are. And I think the Buffalo football Bills are the team that can take it to the Kansas City Chiefs and knock off the Chiefs and get their way to Super Bowl. Then they'll probably miss a field goal and lose, but that's not the point. The point is the Bills are the team from the AFC that can knock off.
That's a low blow, Matt. That was a low blow. Oh, goodness.
You got to say that the comedic timing of that is perfect.
It was. I think if you're in an IDP league, the only one that I'm really looking at and kind of trusting is Adrian Phillips, the safety, because he's been getting a ton of tackles for them. And then maybe at corner with Stephon Gilmore being out for the season, you look at J.C. Jackson because he's done so good at intercepting and pass deflections. I think that's the only two I'm kind of looking at or touching. Other than that, I don't know that I want anything to do with a New England player.
If this was in Buffalo, if this game was in Buffalo instead of New England, I may be more trusting of my IDPers. One of the few things that people don't realize is there's certain cities, such as Buffalo, that tend to add additional tackles. Mm-hmm. Instead of having a half a tackle, unless you're one of Daryl's dumbass leagues where a half a tackle gets the same amount of points as a full tackle, these half tackles on the play turn into full tackles on the stat sheets when they go into the NFL. Yep. So there's certain games where you want to target as an IDP enthusiast. I'll target anyone there, Jay Mike. No one pays attention to me anyway. I'm like a wallflower. I literally just blend in with the scenery.
Oh, where'd he go? He disappeared.
I know. No one knows what I do. Anyway, there's certain cities, and Hollywood, we know about this as guys who follow IDP closely. New England is not one of them that gives out extra points. Buffalo is, but this game is in New England. So for an IDP point of view, and also you want to find these sites that tells you where the certain cities are that give them out. What statisticians add the extra points. We talk about Buffalo. Green Bay is another one of those ones that are more favorable to IDP, statistically speaking.
Right. Yep, sure are.
And the one person who's watching, J Mike, he's the one who gets that information because he's the one paying attention to us. Right?
That's right, because J Mike is the greatest.
It's true. Who, I will say, him and Gabe are coming on Fantasy Football Honors on December 29th. They will be on the show as well.
Ooh, I'll have to turn in and watch that.
I will – since no one's paying attention right now anyway, here is what we have set up right now for Fantasy Football Honors December 29th.
Attaboy, J Mike.
I don't have my sheet right in front of me. Just give me 2 seconds. Keep talking. I'm going to pull up my actual sheet.
So Bill, that means that Titans won't make it there, Hollywood.
Oh, he's talking about the scoring being friendly scoring, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's how I interpreted that as well.
Super Bowl.
Man, I don't know. This is a big week for Tennessee. I mean, and I don't know what they're going to do here. I mean, if they lose, then they have to win next week against the Texans to keep this division because I think if they lose and Indy wins and then they both win next week, I think it's all tied up and it goes into tiebreakers because the head-to-head is one each. So I don't remember what the next tiebreaker is.
Conference record, I think.
That sounds right.
Maybe division.
Yeah, maybe division. If it's division, I think maybe we would get it. I don't know about conference right off the top of my head. I kind of hope that Green Bay kind of feels they have things locked up and they're kind of a little bit lax a little bit. But, man, I love the Bills this week. I think they run all over New England. I'm kind of with Coach. I think they're maybe the one team that can give Kansas City a tough outing, make it rough. I mean, Tennessee can too. Tennessee's kind of did the blueprint on them too. So if I'm Kansas City, you're rooting against Buffalo, you're rooting against Tennessee. You want both of those teams out.
So here's the thing. I obviously, as a Saints fan, I watched probably more of the Chiefs than I ever have this past weekend. I mean, I've watched plenty of Chiefs games, but I guess maybe, I don't know, you're paying attention a little bit more when it's against your team.
Right.
If that team doesn't have Pat Mahomes, I'm not sure they're a 500 team.
Oh, no, they're not.
He does so many things that no other quarterback can do. There are just so many things. Maybe, Matt Stafford can every now and then pull out one of those no-look passes, plays that, look special. He never had an Andy Reid. I'd be curious to see where he goes next year to see if he can get that. But my takeaway was Pat Mahomes is so special that I think he's adding 6-7 wins to that team.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback off that a little bit because I agree with you. I think if they lose Tyreek Hill, they're nowhere near as good as they are either. And I told Coach the other night, and people will disagree with me, but I think Tyreek Hill is the biggest game-changing receiver as far as a deep threat with speed since Randy Moss. I mean, he's not the same player. I'm not comparing him to Randy Moss that way, but it's just speed freaking kills. And if you can't cover it, it causes problems everywhere. And that's not even you throwing him the ball. That speed sets up everything else. And then, like you said, with Mahomes being so freaking good, that's just like a double whammy. I mean, what do you do with it? And then, of course, you got one of the best tight ends in the league in Kelsey. So, yeah, I'm with you.
Come on, Hollywood, wrap it up. What do you got going far with right now?
Far north. I ain't got nothing going far north.
For you.
Oh, for me? Well, that could be debatable too, but yeah. You can catch me. Not a whole lot going on right now because many people that follow us, the IDP guys, is fixing to shut down for a little bit of restructuring, rebranding. So I've kind of cooled off just a little bit this month. But as you do know, I am doing a ton of IDP Davy stuff, a ton of getting ready for the draft and some of the things that we have in the works coming up. So I'm kind of, I'm kind of just doing a lot of video watching and game film and then stuff like that. So,
well, I'm glad you mentioned the DFD IDP Guys magazine because all three of us are taking part in that this year.
Yes, love it. Can't wait.
I thought you were up. Dingus, no?
I did. I got it right here. So Calvin's going to be a part of this too. He's not on my show sheet, but he's going to be in the party. He's going to be running kind of the bells and whistles in the background, much like he's doing today. Man, I've trained him so well. He's a good young Padawan. You know what I'm saying?
So he's the brains of the operation, is what I'm hearing.
Oh. Thanks, Dad. I really don't know what I am. I'm not the brains or the looks or anything anymore. I'm just the guy that gets waxed and drinks nasty stuff. Anyway, you're going to want to check this out. First thing we're going to do is we're going to hit you with the European delegation here coming in for FF Honors December 29th, 8 p.m. Eastern time, starting us. We're going to get Jack Humphrey on with Kickers Matters and the Warrior Bowl guys there. They're going to jump in right off the get-go. At the EFF German, he's going to get in there. That's Peter Gent with the EFFC. That's the European Scott Fishbowl kind of thing. We got K Fantasy Sports, also representing England. They're coming in. Then a couple of our favorites, Michael and Anthony. We got from the FF Face-Off. That's the FF Realist with the Real NFL Guru. They're coming on, do a little bit of mental health talk and talk about the mental health podathon that they had going on. Then we're going to hit with John Bosch is going to join us. He's going to join us, talk about his eliminators a little bit. The BFTG Pod Boys, George Reed Jr. and Jason, they're going to come in, followed by Nate Cheat and Dan Cook there with the IDP guys. They're coming in for a little bit of talk. And then we're going to get the FFP Pod.
I know those two.
You might. They're kind of, we've known them a little bit. We're bringing in Sal and Kevin.
I swear it does.
We're bringing in Sal, Lito, Kevin, Podathon Chair, and maybe Steve. What's for one or the other? We'll be getting them in. Rob Norton's going to be joining us. He's the guy who runs the Baby Bowl. Bob Lung is going to step in for a little bit there, talk about a consistency guy, King's Classic, and some of the fantastic things we got going on there. Will Harris, who's got the CNBBCL, also a big part of Viridian Global and all that kind of stuff. Charity Pros Joe's. Eric is going to join us, Fantasy Nav. You want to check him out. Then we got the open bar coming in, let's say 10:30 p.m. Eastern-ish. Jay, Mike, and Gabe, they're going to join us as well. Aaron Sopchik coming in with the Hunger Bowl. We got Shane Baird and Paulie's Playoffs. And, of course, Dynasty Outhouse, Ross, he's going to be joining us as well. So we've got like 30 people jammed into 3 hours. This is what happens when I said a million monkeys get a million typewriters and you let them go to town and they come up with one idea. This is kind of the outline of that idea right now. So hopefully Lewis will keep me in check, keep the show running. I got no problem. We run a little bit over. But like I said, we were originally going with 2 hours. We extended it to 3 to get a few more people in. And I know I'm going to be trying to squeeze a couple more in with some of these other guests here. There's a couple more I want to get talking to as well, because I think some of these stories that these individuals have are amazing. The work that they're doing in the community and these charities. When I say community, I don't just mean fantasy football community. I mean their home communities as well. You look at what the Podathon has done at the Toys for Tots and the money that's gone there, and how that money gets dispersed. It's not just Scott Fish. He ends up giving X amount of money to Sal Lito, and then there's so much money goes out to Steve, and then Kevin, and they get this money, and they all go out. They're not all in the same city. They go to different cities that they live in, that their community, their personal community. They hit up the local Target. They load up the trucks with toys, and they're making those donations of toys to the kids in those communities. It's not just the fantasy football community. It's the communities in which we call home. And that's what the holidays are, about home. And like I said, there's so many stories like this. And I'm looking forward just to sitting back and listening to these stories being told. I'm just probably going to – I may actually sit down, shut up, and listen for once. No, I probably won't. But
no, you won't. You won't.
No, but it's going to be fun. I got my boy there, Lewis there, FF_down under. He's going to be joining me on the show as well. So you're going to want to tune in, check it out. There's a lot of things going on a Tuesday night. This is definitely got to try and make it into your viewing rotation for that night.
Absolutely. And
by then you are either a fantasy champion or a unfortunate son. But don't let that fool you, because you are not done with fantasy football at that point. You can hit us up, hit Calvin up, hit myself up, hit the Dynasty Vipers up, DM us, say, hey, you know what? I don't want my season to be over. Let me in on this playoff pool. This playoff pool is kind of a unique setup. It is one and done. You play one player, he is done for the playoffs. So I'll tell you what, if you use up all your quarterbacks and all of a sudden it's turning into 2 quarterbacks you've already used playing in the Super Bowl, you've got no quarterback. You may actually have to put a tight end like Taysom Hill in as your starting quarterback. So you're going to want to take a look at that. It's going to be fantastic. We've done this for 4 years, raising money for charity. A portion of every entry fee goes into charity. Probably No Kid Hungry is probably the way we're leaning again this year, just to kind of keep up with everything we're going with. So that's the show. Kept it under 2 hours, so that's a bonus, right?
Manscaped. Good.
All right. So for Hollywood Titan, for Calvin and Hobby, I'm Diggus4. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next week during the FF Honors. And we gone.